Whoa! Welcome back. Out and about on the old Moto Guzzi V7 again. Got Colin behind me on his BSA Goldstar. Must get out on my BSA Goldstar more than I do. Do enjoy that bike. Aye. Still can't believe I've blown the 20,000 subscriber barrier so soon. And there were me thinking it would touch and go whether I'd hit 20,000 subscribers this year, and remarked on more than one occasion what a great Christmas present it would be to do so. And then lo and behold, before even August is out, long before August is out, I hit 20,000 subscribers. Blimey. And at the time of recording this, I'm like 20,300 and something like that. Amazing. And I am absolutely made up. Thank you. Thank you to everybody, whether you're a new subscriber or whether you're a long-term supporter of the channel. You have my eternal thanks. Aye, so we're just heading towards a little village of Arncliffe, and when we get into Arncliffe, we're gonna hang a right, and we're gonna take the road through Littondale, and then we'll come to a little village called Halton Gill, of the film The Woman in Black fame. And at Halton Gill we'll hang a left and we'll go up to Pen-y-ghent. And right, a spectacular, don't know whether you'd call it a mountain. I suppose it is. It's one of the Yorkshire Three Peaks, obviously. The other two being Ingleborough and Whernside. That's Whernside, not Great Whernside. The two not to be confused. And if you cast your gaze to the left upon that topographical limestone feature, that's Arncliffe Crag. There. Very impressive. And absolutely typical of these parts of the world. But as usual, we've got a dawdling car in front that's not taking any opportunity to pull into these many laybys and just let us past, which I normally find most people around these parts are considerate enough to do. But sometimes the name of the game... Oh, spoke too soon, thank you. Hey. Take it all back. Better edit that out. Or maybe not. Maybe I'll just leave it in, and there's a little lesson to myself not to be too judgmental. Aye, but yeah, these limestone walls, limestone buildings, limestone outcroppings, absolute typical Yorkshire Dales. Where else would you be? Thank you. Right, so you do tell me, many of you, from time to time, how much you like the old coppering tales. And I'll have forgotten far more than I'll ever remember, for sure. When you retire from the police, when you leave the service, you're required to leave all your pocket notebooks behind. And so I had 30 years worth of pocket books, and there are sure to be stacks of things in there that I've no hope of remembering. The ones that I do tend to remember, I remember for a reason, either because they're hilariously funny, or because they're particularly unfunny, or because they're on a particular scale, particularly unusual, particularly serious, particularly unlikely, things like that. And I also tend to recall, you know, some of the lighter moments that weren't anything to do with major disorder or crime or serious road traffic matters. Just the day-to-day life of coppering with your colleagues. And one I always recall, it had been back in the 80s, I think probably the late 80s, and there were an old boy on the shift, an absolute time-served copper, who unusually, at the back end of his career, in his twilight years, was still pounding the beat with us on a shift at Bradford Central. Good for him. A right character he was, a right character. Trucked no nonsense with anybody. His response, I won't name him because he's legendary. His response invariably to anybody, police officer or otherwise, that upset him enough were to plant one on him. Bish, have that. Oh dear. Aye. But yeah, when he first sort of came onto the shift, he didn't have his own transport. He didn't have a car. But eventually he decided to bite the bullet, because they were having to work shifts and come into Bradford city centre, and it were proving nigh on impossible to rely on the buses to be able to do that. So he bought this battered old Ford Cortina for next to no, and he used to drive to work and back in this here shed. And there were a place in front of the Bradford Central Nick, in front of the tunnels there, just at the side of City Hall, and that road's called Channing Way, and it's all pedestrianised now, but back then it was just a road between the Nick and the side of City Hall, and there was some limited parking there, and we're on nights, so 10 at night until 6 in the morning, so we're on night shift, and this old boy's parked his shed Cortina on Channing Way. So it's parked there, and of course it's right next to Nick. You can see Channing Way out of the report writing room window. It's that close to the police station. At this particular night, we're in about 3 o'clock in the morning. We hears him radio up, and he radios up with a sense of a combination of urgency, dread and sorrow in his voice, and basically radios up with his collar number. had said, all units, be aware, my car has been stolen from Channing Way. Car stolen from Channing Way, observations for a Ford Cortina. Alpha Bravo Charlie 123 Delta or whatever. It's been stolen, my car's been stolen. He were in the right, hello. He were in the right 2 and 8. Poor lad. So, we does what you do, so the control room circulate widely the registration number of this here car. And, well, you could have let me through then when you stopped for them. Cheers! Where were I? So obviously the control room circulates to the entire force area details of this car with the request for observations. Logged it on PNC, Police National Computer, as a stolen vehicle, put it on as a crime report locally, and of course then we have the entire division, every officer driving round at 3 o'clock in the morning trying to locate this old boy's car, where it might have been abandoned or where it might still be lurking with the thief behind the wheel. And this must have gone on for a couple of hours, all points bulletin. Bloody hell, then about 5 o'clock he pipes up again with his collar number and he says, read my last, stand all units down, I've just realised I've come to work on bus. Silly old sod. For whatever reason he'd come to work on bus that particular night, but he'd managed to convince himself he'd come in his car. And so of course when he drives on Channing Way, or he's walking on Channing Way on patrol and don't see his car, immediately thinks it's been swiped, and of course it's sat at home on his driveway because he's come to work on bus. Oh bloody hell, that was funny. I'll tell you what, we had some mileage out of that. We had some bloody mileage out of that for weeks. Look at this, riverbed's completely dry. Look at that, not a drop of water. Beautiful out here. Littondale, this is Littondale. And that little village back there, well, Lytton, of course. Just a lovely road, this, just to take your time. Just, you know, bimble along, taking everything in. A bit of campage going on. A lot of campage going on. Aye, so yeah, that were funny. But the other things that that sort of tend to stick in your mind are large-scale events. And I remember one Saturday. Now I don't know if any of you remember, but I should imagine most of my UK viewers will remember back in the late 80s the demonstrations and disorder that came about on the back of a book written by Salman Rushdie, and it was called The Satanic Verses, and it led to a lot of demonstrations and public book burnings. And sure, eventually it came to Bradford, and there was a demonstration in Bradford, and the demonstration was right in front of the police station. There's a police station and the magistrate's court, and a bit of a paved area with a pond, a shallow pond there. And that's where they had this here demonstration and this ceremonial book burning. of the Satanic Verses. And I was working the 2:10 shift that day, 2 p.m. till 10 p.m, but a lot of my shift had been dropped back to 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. because this demonstration were going to kick off in the morning. Anyway, I say kick off, bloody hell, did it kick off. And there were some absolutely disgraceful scenes, because it was quite a fine, sunny Saturday, and everybody's out shopping. And then when they finished burning the book, all these youths went on the rampage through Bradford city centre. I'm not kidding you. And there's folk there with the kids, out shopping with the kids, enjoying themselves. And there's this lot just running riot, assaulting people left, right, just really walking up to folk. I'll just show you Halton Gill here. This is where they filmed The Woman in Black, up here, Halton Gill. See if we could just get round here, can we? Ah, yeah. I'm sorry I'm digressing, but I just wanted to, if you've seen that film, what a very popular film, horror film, The Woman in Black. And as you can see round here, these cottages, these houses. Hello, hello, hello baby. Cute. These here cottages and stone built houses, the perfect backdrop for that film. Very sort of gothic look about him. Yeah. And that big detached house there, that was sold recently. So if you ever want to look up that film, The Woman in Black, and give it a watch, you'll see that a lot of it's filmed in this here little village called Halton Gill. I'll just explain to Colin why I've done that. I was talking about filming The Woman in Black. Oh, yeah. Filmed here, so I just done the circuit. Aye. Where were I? Oh yeah, so the what became known as the Salman Rushdie demonstrations, and this one in Bradford, and after the book burning, so all these youths went on the rampage, and they were just arbitrarily assaulting people, just decent people out shopping on a Saturday, left, right and centre, just running up to them and punching them in the face. They were turning push chairs over with kiddies in. It were absolutely disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful. And it went on for hours, this. And they were fighting with police officers, and there were some fairly spectacular headlines in the newspapers, particularly the local newspaper, the Telegraph and Argus, of coppers doing battle with these idiots. But as the day progressed, it just got more and more violent. So I comes to work at 2 o'clock for the 2:10 shift. And one of my colleagues was just running to a police van out of the police station and said, bloody hell, it ain't half kicked off, get in, get your gear on. So I thought, oh, here we go. So yeah, I went into the locker room. I thought, I've got to find my PSU gear, my NATO helmet and my overalls and what have you. But before I had a chance to do that, I gets accosted by this here senior officer, who says to me, are you command and control trained? And I made the mistake of saying yes, because I was. And the reason our command and control train, which is control room train, so you're trained on all the computers and radio systems in the control room, trained on all that, and occasionally, just occasionally, I would stand in for a couple of days if the full-time staff were on leave, and do that. But I didn't enjoy it at all. I used to much prefer being out and about. But the only reason that I actually had that training was because when I had my police motorcycle accident in 1986, which is another tale altogether, but when I was briefly a police motorcycle, I had an accident in training and ended up coming off and breaking my leg in 4 places and writing off the force's newest BMW RTP motorcycle, which didn't go down well. But anyway, so I was on light duties for long enough while I was recovering from that injury, and being on light duties, they just put me on every course they could think of. So I ended up on this command and control course. So I became qualified. And that's how it came about. It is not something I would ordinarily have chosen to do, but it was mandated to me because I wasn't much good for bugger all else at the time. So look at that there. Look at that, even though it's a bit misty, that's stunning, isn't it? So yeah, so this senior officer says, are you command and control trained? Yes, I am, sir. Right, lad, get yourself up to the command room upstairs. So that's not the normal Bradford Central Police Control Room. It was the, what they used to call it, an SOR, a Special Operations Room. Same sort of setup, but dedicated with different radio channels that enabled you to communicate with officers from right across the force. So I thought, aye, right, well that's my fun spoilt. So I goes up to the control room upstairs. Bloody hell, it's absolutely frenetic. You can imagine the radio traffic associated with numerous officers of numerous ranks reporting their engagement with rampaging mobs. Mods? Bloody hell, no, we're a good 20-30 years later than that. Mobs, rampaging mobs. So you can imagine that the radio traffic was intense, and sorting out the wheat from the chaff and prioritising which messages were important and which were less important, quite a challenge. And I think it's fair to say that the civilian, non-police control room staff that they chucked in there out of force control were out of the depth. And I mean no disrespect by that, but they were out of the depth, because you need to understand, if you're at the hub of communications when a large, I would have to say by many, unexpected public order event like that unfolds, you've got to have a real understanding of the dynamics of and the policing requirements of those sorts of situations. And it helps enormously if you've actually been in those situations, of course, which I had, numerous. So I felt, well, I'm in reasonably familiar territory, albeit I'd do a much better job out there than I ever would in here. But anyway, I digress. So I ends up as the controller. This bloody incident, this mass bloody rampage going on. Just look at this for a sight. Look at that, you see. There's not a lot of water there, is there? That's normally flowing with water off the hillside there, but we haven't had any rain for months, and I suspect the sheep have all gathered around here to drink the dregs, haven't you, babies? Yeah, it's cows on Camgill Road and it's sheep on the road to Pen y Ghent. All very Yorkshire. Yeah, so all hell's breaking loose. So anyway, I have a frantic, it sort of calmed down at 8 o'clock at night, so I had a good 6 hours of frantic exchange, radio communications exchanges, and obviously they brought police officers in from all over the West Yorkshire Force area to damp it down, and there were stacks of arrests. And right, so just had a brief stop and a stretch there in the shadow of Penny Ghent, and it's just as well we did because about 50 vintage tractors came up this way. I filmed them on my phone. I'll see if I can insert it here. I think they're going to the Kilnsea show, but if we'd have met them coming down here, that would have been very interesting. So just to wrap up that tale then, yeah, it was an interesting day, that, and the week after that debacle in Bradford, we all ended up at Dewsbury, where there was a similar demonstration and also a counter demonstration by the National Front, and that did get naughty. There were 5 or 6 different police forces there. We had like Greater Manchester and all the Yorkshire forces, and Greater Manchester, Lancashire, 1 or 2 others. But yeah, the one in Bradford the week before, I think informed the somewhat more kinetic approach, the more kinetic use of tactics at the Dewsbury event, because there were more time to plan. What came out of the Bradford event was largely spontaneous. That level of disorder had not been anticipated. Anyway, just a little tale, because I know you like these coppering tales, and it's from long enough ago, late 80s, for it not to be entirely controversial. So if you do like what I do on this channel, please would you, if you are not already, subscribe to the channel. That is the single most important thing that you can do for me. It's completely free of charge, now and forever, don't cost you a penny, and all my content is free to view anytime you like. So please, if you would subscribe and click a like, always helps the algorithms, and hopefully I'll be able to continue the currently quite healthy growth of the channel. So yeah, it only remains for me to wish you continued safe riding, and until the next time, and in the meantime, keep it shiny side up, rubber side down, and I'll see thee. Woohoo!